In this video, we'll look at some tips for entering answers into the iMath system. So I have a task pulled open here that has two parts, one of them asking us to compute a number, and another part asking us to write a formula. So with many of the questions that ask you to compute a number, you can actually enter computations right into the iMath system. And as we start to type, you should see a live preview to the right-hand side. And this live preview tells you, or it shows you, how the system understands what you're inputting, and then gives you a numerical value for that. So if we wanted 195 divided by 5, say, then it'll show us 195 divided by 5, and then give us the numerical value. And for most of these questions, unless you're told otherwise, you can enter computations, and the system understands that. And this is a good way to enter answers. One nice feature is there's this little yellow arrow to the right of this input box, and if you click on that, you'll actually get a visual editor for your math entry. And so you can use this to help you enter answers in. So maybe you wanted something like the square root of something. You can click the little square root button and then put something like 144 within that thing, and then press save, and it'll enter that right into the input box and then show you the live preview next to it. One important thing to point out is iMath by default grades your answer within 0.1% of the correct answer, meaning that what you input has to be within 0.1% of the exact correct answer for the system to give you credit for the question. And so the implication of this is if you round too early, sometimes the system will tell you that you're incorrect, even if your thinking is correct. So as an example, if an answer was 1/3, we could type in 1 divided by 3, and we get this live preview, which is 0.33 repeating. And you might be tempted just to enter 0.33. So you might want to enter 0.33, but 0.33 is actually not within 0.1% of 1/3. You would actually need to round out to like 4 or 5 decimals to do that. So anytime you're entering numerical values, either round out to 5 or 6 decimal places or enter exact numbers. So like enter a numerical expression that evaluates exactly to what you're looking for. So in cases like this, it's actually best just to enter 1/3 instead of trying to round out or enter decimal value. Now with formula type inputs, or inputs where you're maybe just entering algebraic expressions, you're going to have another live preview, and the preview is going to tell you when it doesn't understand what you're inputting in. So this is a question involving two variables n sub t and n sub s. If we entered something like n equals 3 times x, this live preview is going to yell at us. It's going to say, I don't understand what you're doing. Check your variables. You might be using an incorrect one. This is because it's not expecting to see the variables n or x. It's expecting to see something like n sub t and n sub s. And once we use those variables, it's going to say syntax OK, which basically just means it understands what we're inputting in. Similarly, this is asking for a formula or equation. If we just enter an expression, it's going to tell us this is not an equation. So this preview gives you a little hint as to whether or not the system understands what you're inputting.